Mark, we talked a lot about her on the show today, and we finally have her, and it's Tessa Blanchard. And Tessa, how are you today? Good morning.
I'm great. Good morning. How are you guys doing?
We're awesome.
Good morning, Tessa.
Good morning. I'm cooking eggs right now.
Oh, you got to get it in. Get your nutrition in.
That's right.
Tessa will let you know, Dave. She has been one of my favorites for a long time, and she's worked very hard. And there's a noticeable difference in the way her body looks. So I know that her training and eating is changed. I mean, so like tell us a little bit, Tessa. Like you're cooking your eggs right now. Like what is your nutrition plan going on right now?
Just over these past maybe like 2 or 3 months, I've really just like kicked things into gear and switched things up, tried something different because a lot of it's just trial and error. And with my diet, I've just like been going super hard. I'm in the gym like 2 times a day, and then I go to the ring for cardio. And I've just been trying to kick things into gear. And I think it's because just like if we go through things in our personal life or even in our professional life, I think everything is mindset. And if you can change your mindset, then you can get through anything. And so I've kind of just been working on changing my mindset and focusing all my energy towards fitness and training and just, busting it there.
I like it. How hard is it? Because I know for me, it's, Mark and I have been talking about it all show. It's Memorial Day weekend. Everybody's got the barbecues going. And, how hard is it to, avoid temptation and really focus on just, eating right and hitting the gym?
I think if I'm too strict on myself, I start to stress myself out a little bit. It's happened before, actually. A few weeks ago, I was so strict on my diet that, I just felt myself starting to, break mentally, that I was like, Tessa, you need to, chill out for a little bit. It's okay to relax. It's okay to just sit down and do nothing for a little bit. Because sometimes, I find myself doing that. If I'm sitting there and I'm just at home, just bored, just sitting there, I'm like, oh, I could be in the gym, or I could do something. I could be doing something to, become better, But I need to talk to myself and be like, Tessa, it's okay to rest. It's okay to just chill for a little bit.
I like it, and you have to do that. Listen, Mark. It's temptation. It's hard to avoid it. You gotta, you can't cheat yourself. You got to treat yourself every once in a while, right, Mark?
That's right.
Oh my God, yes. There's a lot of it is, I'm addicted to sugar. So it's like some people, alcohol is their thing. Some people are smoking them wacky tobaccos, whatever it is that is people's vices. I don't have those, but I do have a Sugar Jones. If I go 3 days without anything, Cokes or cookies or any kind of dessert, man, I'm miserable. I feel ill. I feel bad, and I have to drink something or eat something. So, it's hard. So, I can imagine somebody that's, I've never really dieted to be the body guy, but I can't imagine giving up 100% the sugars. That would be hard for me. You have that issue?
I love sugar.
Does it affect you like that? If you don't have some sugars or you don't treat yourself every now and then, does it make you feel like you get headaches and you feel ill?
I feel like with me, if I have something sweet, then I start craving it that whole week. So I try to just keep myself from it. But I have ways around it where, at my grocery store or at my Whole Foods, they make dessert hummus, and they make or I'll get a bunch of berries and make a bowl of berries with sugar-free honey, and it's just stuff to curb my sweet tooth.
All right,
wow,
so there's ways around it. I like it. You can avoid it. You can avoid it. Tessa, I want to ask you about, and we're going to get into Impact Wrestling. Under Pressure is taking place next week, and you're going up against Madison Rayne. But when Mark was telling us that you were going to be a part of the show today, I got excited because, there is a buzz about you, and there's been. This isn't anything new. But you really are waving the flag, and it's really needed with Impact Wrestling. I always thought that TNA and Impact Wrestling really started the women's revolution years ago, Then it moved over and shifted to the WWE, and there's been a lack of really great women's wrestling on Impact, and I think your presence on that show is changing all of that.
Oh man, I appreciate that. I whenever I do something, whether it's wrestling or fitness or, you know, whether I was waiting tables or I was a host, like whatever it was, like I always wanted to be the best at it. And if I wasn't, I would do everything I could until I was. And I feel like that's kind of what I'm doing with wrestling like right now. Like I want to be the best at it. I want to be the most in shape. I want to be the best in the ring. I want to be the best in pre-tapes. I want to be just the best. And mainly, like, before wrestling, I don't know if you guys knew this, but I always wanted to do musical theater. And I never really felt fully fulfilled with it. But it was a passion of mine. It's something that I love. My family's very theatrical. And I knew that I always wanted, like, my purpose in life, I wanted to do something to motivate people and to inspire people because when I went through things in life early on, like, I think I could have benefited from having someone to look up to or someone to, like, look at them and say, hey, they've gone through this, and because they made it, like, so can I. And I wanted to be that for someone. And it just so happens that God gave me the platform of wrestling to hopefully do that.
Amen.
Yep.
Man, I love that, like, you know, and you can be in your spirit on this show. It's okay. We're 100% behind you. Just like I realized that you come from a family of pro wrestling. When you were a kid, did your parents and your grandparents talk about the business in front of you a lot?
Here and there, yeah. I remember just like sitting on my grandpa's lap and him just like telling us old stories and stuff. He is like when I think of like what I want to be like, what I want my heart to look like, what I want to be as a person, I think of my grandpa because he was just the best person all around. Like he was the most selfless, the most just had the best heart. So I always like aspire to be just like him. But I remember stories where my grandpa would either be in the pool or I'd be sitting on his lap in his recliner and he'd just like tell us stories. And my dad, I remember even before I started wrestling a little bit, or when I kind of got interested in it, we'd go out in the yard and he would teach me, like, he'd put me in a headlock and we would work on just little details of a headlock, like how to get out of it and like how to sell it and like just like little details that I would have never thought of. And I always say like I'm super, super blessed because I did have like my grandpa, my dad, my stepdad to pour into my life, and like they're all so versatile and so different, and so I kind of get the best of both worlds from that.
You know, you mentioned wanting to inspire people, and you mentioned your grandfather. Was he the one that really inspired you, not just in getting involved in wrestling, but just, you know, being somebody that would want to motivate people?
I definitely think so because I was just talking to my brother about this yesterday because my brother found a bunch of my grandpa's old journals and he was reading through them and he was just, my grandpa would record everything. He worked at the prayer line at Cornerstone Church in San Antonio and he would go there every single night. Like no matter what he had going on, he went there every single night and would just take phone calls and like help people. And he would record it and like talk about it. And I think it's so beautiful to me because he's so selfless that he cared about other people's problems and just wanted them to be the best versions of themselves, wanted them to get through whatever they had going on, and wanted to be that driving force if he was able to. And so that's so freaking inspiring to me. Because if I'm able to do that for someone, then I've accomplished something in life, in my opinion.
Did you ever get any fallout from your dad? Like, I don't know if you should get into business. Did he ever try to keep you away from it?
Well, okay, when I started wrestling, I didn't tell anyone in my family. I didn't tell my dad, didn't tell my sibling, told nobody.
Wow.
It's actually, so when I turned 18, I got kicked out of my house because we had like some family problems going on and stuff. And my mom was bad with alcohol, and I ended up leaving home, and I didn't talk to my family for an entire year. They cut my phone off, just cut me off entirely. And I had a job downtown, just living on my own for an entire year. And I was probably hanging out with like some not so great people. probably headed down a path that like wouldn't have ended well. And I remember one day waking up. I was sitting in my room in Charlotte, North Carolina. I woke up and I was like, Tessa, like, what are you doing? Like, you're 18 years old. What are you doing? And I looked up like a wrestling school, and I found out there was High Spots that was like 20 minutes from us. And I was like, okay. And I like, kind of like shut the thing, went to my social media, whatever, revisited later that day, looked at it again. And I was like, you know what? Like, let me call them. Called them and found out that they trained on Tuesdays. So on Tuesday, I went to High Spots. I walked into Michael Bucucchio's office, and I was like, hey, I want to be a wrestler. Just like that. Just like, hey, I want to be a wrestler. And for sure, I don't think anybody took me seriously. Like, I had high heels on. I had my makeup done. Like, I looked nice. Not how you show up to training, obviously. But Michael took me in the back warehouse, went ahead, changed clothes, and they let me just watch training. And Cedric Alexander was in there. Caleb Conley was in there. A few guys that are like super, super close to me now and who have helped me get to where I am today. But they ended up letting me get in the ring and just like try a few bumps and hit the ropes a little bit. And I was like, God, this hurts, but I love it. I just remember thinking these bumps. I was like, gosh, this hurts, but I love this. So I went like every single night. Cedric and I would go from like 6 p.m. until like 2 or 3 in the morning, sometimes like 6-7 days a week, just training. And I had never lifted a weight in my life still. But I remember maybe a month in, Michael came back in the warehouse and he was like, Tessa, come on out. I need to talk to you. I was like, okay, what's up? I didn't know what was going on. He was like, well, you can't train here anymore. I was like, why? Like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, like, I didn't know, your family doesn't know you're training. Like, I know your dad, like, and I don't want him to think we're hiding things from him. Like, this could be a problem. Like, you can't train here if you don't fix this. And I'm like, hey, I'll fix this. Don't worry about it. I will fix this. And that's how I kind of started talking to my family again, because wow. I called them to let them know. I remember calling my stepdad, and I was like, hey, I'm trying to wrestle, and you guys only live like 20 minutes away. I would love if you just came and checked it out. You know, I just love that. And the next Tuesday, he didn't show up, but the Tuesday after, I saw him. We were in the ring training, and I see him rolling on his Segway with my little brother, and I got so excited. Like, I looked at Cedric. I was like, all right, let's do our thing. Come on, let's do it. And we're just, like, doing our thing in the ring. Just, like, I'm so comfortable in the ring with Cedric. Like, we knew each other so well. So we were just in there, like, whatever George would say, we were just busting it out right there. And then after training, I remember my stepdad rolled up to the turnbuckle. I remember it like it was yesterday. And I leaned down, and he was like, all right, you're not good. He was like, but you have it. He was like, now you have to go out there and you have to become undeniable. And that's something that always stuck with me. It's a little cheesy maybe, but like it's something that always stuck with me. And that's why my hashtag and like everything I use is like always undeniable. Because that's something that it just hit home, because I like, no, I'm not good yet, but I have a long way to go. And like everything's about the journey. It's not when you're there, it's like how you get there. And so I don't know, I've just been trying to focus on becoming the best I can be, becoming undeniable. And I don't know, that's the story, kind of.
It is so hard to get young people to understand what you just said. And that is, it's not just the result, it's the journey. It's how you get there. It's what you go through to get there. It's what you're willing to sacrifice to get there. And for you to see that and understand that at such an early juncture in your life is going to mean great success for you. I can promise you that. It's going to happen.
After my WWE tryout in 2014, I was like, all right, I'm getting signed. I'm going to be there. I'm ready. Let's do this. Like, it's happening. Everything's happening right now. Like, hell yeah. And then when it didn't happen, like, I was, like, heartbroken. And I honestly think it's because God had a plan for me. And if I would have gone and they would have signed me right away, I don't think that I would have had the life experiences or the experiences in wrestling. Just, I wouldn't have gotten to travel or gotten to go. I wouldn't be the wrestler or the athlete that I am today. I wouldn't even be the person or the woman that I am today, I think, if I would have gone then. Because
and maybe you wouldn't have worked as hard, too. Because I can see your development. I can see it.
Oh, wow.
And I'm told you, I'm proud of you. I really am. And I've lobbied for you before. And I don't think that it's going to stop now. Until they sign you, I'm going to be on their butts about it.
You better, Mark.
Mark.
Like you are one of the best female wrestlers in the world, and you have to own that now. Now that you've worked and put yourself in a position, I'm not saying be arrogant, but I'm saying that you have to stand up for yourself and say, come on, put me in with whoever you want to put me in with. We're going to have a 5-star match, and you have to be able to deliver.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen you before, and Dave and I talked about this earlier on when we were in the break and before the show started, actually. And I was saying that, you know, we were under the impression that maybe there was something else that was an issue. And maybe that was, I know you did so good in the Mae Young challenge down at NXT. And, you know, you got eliminated early in the tournament. And I'm sure that you had some negative feeling about that, because half the people that was there, I just looked at you as being better than. And how did you feel about that?
Honestly, I have zero negative feelings towards. That didn't even cross my mind even a little bit. You know, everyone has their spot. Whether you're happy with it or not, like, someone's got to do it. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, I was not upset at all. And I saw, like, on Dirt Sheets, like, people were like, oh, Tessa's got a bad attitude. I think sometimes I'm very misunderstood because people expect me to be a certain way because I'm generational. And they expect me to be entitled, or they expect me to think I deserve certain things, like, early on. And I think people just misconstrue that, maybe, because, honestly, I was so excited for my spot in the Mae Young Classic. I was so happy. Kyrie and I had 2 tours of Japan together, and we were supposed to have a singles match on both tours, but she ended up having to come off the shows for injury on both those shows, so our singles match never happened. So I remember walking into the Performance Center, and Kyrie was sitting in the ring, and she was, Tessa, me and you. And I was like, no. And she was like, yeah, she almost, like, had tears in her eyes. And I was like, we just hugged each other, and we were just so happy. Like, honestly, it was the best experience. Like, a lot of those women, they're just really great wrestlers, and it was cool to be a part of. It was history. Like, being eliminated the first round did not bother me at all. I was just excited to be a part of it, if that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah.
And just to tell you about that conversation that Mark was saying that him and I had before today's show, it was almost like I was talking to Mark and I was like, there's got to be something. Like, there has to be something that we don't know. I mean, Tessa Blanchard is phenomenal. Like Mark says, she's one of the best. Forget about women's wrestlers, one of the best wrestlers out there right now. There has to be something, because I can't believe that there's not a contract, a deal in front of you right now for you to sign.
Oh, wow.
I mean, the women's movement has never been stronger, and I don't know if it'll advance, and I think it can get better, but I as long as I've been watching wrestling since Glow, been this strong with how much female talent there is in the world. You watch Raw and SmackDown, even the indie scene. There's women, there's quality wrestlers in the world, and like you're like you're the cream of the crop, and I would pay my own money to see you in a match with Sasha Banks and Asuka and girls that fit your same skill set, because I'm sure that there's girls that you wrestle with on Impact and in the Indies that they're not at the level that you're at, and you have to dummy down all your stuff. Imagine you working every day against people that were your equal. Like I don't, like, iron sharpens iron. Like you would be really, I mean, you're special now, but I with that kind of training and that kind of practice, like y'all would have 5-star matches, and they'd have to book y'all at the end of shows. I'm looking forward to seeing that happen.
Dude, that's the dream.
That's the dream. We all talk about living the dream, but like I hope to see that happen. And I could hear the reverence in your voice, because you talk about not just, you said it's a blessing to be, it's that you feel privileged, and you thank God. Like, man, that means a lot to me as an individual, and I hope that you keep that mentality. Your success is coming.
Oh, thanks, Mark. See, I think I've seen it happen before, like, well, when people find success, or when people are told so often that they're great and they're this and they're that and they're going to find success and they're going to have just the world in their hands. And I find that, like, sometimes people let that get to their heads and they forget where they came from, and they forget the people that helped them get there and where they started. And so I always try to keep my head grounded and remember, like, George, Cedric, Caleb, my dad, like, they were there for me from the get-go, the promoters or the crappy shows that I worked, or the times I drove 14 hours to Whitehall, New York for $50 and slept in my car to just turn around and drive 14 hours right back home, and just the things that I want to do to pay my dues, because I try to remember all that, because when people, like I said before, I think I'm misunderstood sometimes, because people expect me to be a certain way, because I'm a Blanchard, and because I have a name, and my dad's in the Hall of Fame, and because of this and that, I deserve this, and I deserve that, and I should be there early on. And I think people think that of me early on, so they have these preconceived notions of, oh, Tessa's going to be a certain way, so I already think this of her.
Well, let's fix that.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why we're having you on the show today. I mean, this is SiriusXM.
This conversation needs to be had with the brass at the WWE. Like, they need to know, but you got to be able to stick to that. And I don't care what was yesterday. I talk about that with anybody that I know. Like, we all have problems, we all have issues, but at some point you got to let those negative things go. And if the WWE saw something that they thought was negative, like, that was yesterday. And that'll be the conversation that I'll have. But I think that you keep doing what you're doing, and I'm not going to blow wind up your skirt and try to get you to have a false sense of anything. I want you to stay grounded. I want you to stay hungry. I want you to have a prove mentality where you go in and you're like, hey, man, I'll do whatever, because we both know that our industry is not the warm and fuzzy type of business. So, and Cedric is one of my favorite people. You talk to Cedric and you asked him, he'll tell you, Mark Henry talks to me every time I see him and I can't believe, he said, when do you watch? I said, I watch everything. I said, I'm a wrestling fan. What are you talking about? He's like, his matches at WrestleMania, you asked him what he did, everything I asked him. And very few times I've made suggestions to people and they did everything. They might put one thing in there. He did every single thing I told him in one sitting, one conversation. I couldn't believe it. And I commended him on it. And I said, you know what? You don't have to do what I'm saying verbatim, but I love the fact that you went out there and did what I thought was a weakness, and you made all of it a strength. And they killed it at WrestleMania. The opening match, it should have been on WrestleMania.
Seeing that moment for him was just so special for me, because I know how hard he works and the things that he's gone through, and just seeing his passion in the ring and working with each other, like, he's one of the best human beings, I swear. And not only the best wrestler, but, like, he's just one of the best human beings.
Yeah, you got good company, and keep yourself in that place where you are now, where you have a good support system and people that are actually in the industry doing it the right way. We've all ventured into that area where we had to look at ourselves in the mirror and go, why am I here? Why am I doing this? And, I love the fact that you are in a good place, and I pray you stay in that good place. Is there anything that you're on that we need to know about? Like, let people know how we can reach you and and social media because that's so big right now. And I just followed you on Instagram, and I've seen some of the videos and matches and some of the stuff you're doing. I'm like, girl, like, come on, you making it hard on everybody. You setting the standard. You set the standard too high.
Oh, I am. I'm on Twitter and Instagram mostly, just at Tessa_Blanchard.
That's easy enough.
That's easy.
I like that. And
Easy.
And here's the thing, Tessa. First of all, I have to apologize because I'm sure your eggs are stone cold by now.
No, I've been eating as we've been talking. All
right, good, because you're tremendous, and I still have some more questions if that's okay, because you have a big match coming up next week on Impact Wrestling. All In is taking place September 1st that you're going to be a part of, and I think let's start there. I mean, how good does it feel to hear about All In, 10,000 strong, sold out in less than 30 minutes, and you're a big part of it?
Oh, that's absolutely unreal, because that's going to be history. That's going to be just larger than any of us think it's going to be. I remember talking to Cody, and when he asked me to be a part of it, I was actually floored. He was like, Tessa, I want you to be the woman representative for all the women in All In. And I'm like, what? Why me? What do you mean, why me?
Yeah.
So just him and the Bucks having that faith in me is really, really cool to me. It's very special, just because I never would have thought, like, out of all the amazing women's wrestlers, I'm the only one that's not in the Bullet Club or in like their group that they're pushing in that way. So that was really cool to me, really special. And then they brought me in for the press conference a week or two ago, and goodness, the fans outside of Pro Wrestling Tees in Chicago was like lined up for like an hour before, and like it was just insane. Like you could feel the energy, and like I was like, if this is what this feels like, I just can't wait to get in that arena and just feel what that feels like. Because that'll be the largest crowd I've ever wrestled in front of. So I'm really, really excited for that. And just for women in general, because they're giving us a platform to show that, the future of women's wrestling is in good hands, especially on the independent scene, because there's so many talented women, like Mark was saying earlier. Like, there's so many talented women that aren't even on TV. They got Deonna Purrazzo and Chelsea Green and Madison Rain, and I've had some amazing matches with these women. Like, I love wrestling these women. They push me, and I push them, and it's kind of like we check our egos at the door, and I wrestle for you, and you wrestle for me, and we go out there and we just kill it, and it's just fun. Like, this stuff's fun. So I'm really, really, really excited for All In.
Yeah, and tell me about Impact Wrestling, being a part of Impact Wrestling, Under Pressure coming up next week. You're going to be wrestling Madison Rain, but what's it like being a part of that company and, being on TV every single week?
At first I was like, I think I was a little nervous. I didn't really know what to expect. TV style is very new to me still. But the locker room and everyone has been so welcoming there, and it's just a very good environment there. Everyone wants the best for each other. I haven't run into any problems where it's like people talking about other people or people like saying one thing and then turning around and saying a different thing, and it feels just like good vibes there, like good energy. Everyone really, really wants the best for each other. And if we see, like, for instance, P. Williams and Gail Kim aged in a few of our matches, and they're just so knowledgeable. They're so brilliant. And doing pre-tapes with Jimmy Jacobs. Jimmy Jacobs has one of the greatest minds, I think. He is so creative and brilliant. Like, he thinks of things that I never would have thought of, and then it gets my mind racing, and it just stems into a bunch of different ideas, and I don't even know if I'm making sense, but I'm just like floored by how brilliant these minds are, like the people that came before, so I have such respect for it.
That's awesome. Oh, you're making perfect sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And one last thing, and I'm just saying this, from hearing you talk with Mark and something that's been sprinkled throughout the interview. And I know it's important in your family and the foundation of your family, and that is your faith. And I know for myself, like, that was the foundation of my family. I strayed when I was in my 20s, and then, getting married and having a family, it's obviously the foundation of my family. But how important has your faith been to you? And it seems like since you're so young, I mean, yeah, I guess it's something that's really not gotten away from you.
It's very important to me. I think it's the one thing that actually does help keep me grounded. A little bit earlier on when I started wrestling, like maybe even up until like a few months ago, I struggle with like maybe confidence issues sometimes, or like I struggle with, oh, am I ever going to get there? I struggle with patience all the time. I have all these different struggles that are very normal. They don't make me special. They're very normal, but they're things that I struggle with. And I think turning to my faith, or even before matches, sometimes I'll just like put my headphones in, listen to a little like praise and worship music, something to like get me in the zone. And it's something that helps me, because what we're doing now, like my journey, it means something to me. And sometimes I need to, even after matches, I need to take a step back and just be grateful. Because without God, without the fans, without my family, without the people who have believed in me, I 100% would not be where I am today. I wouldn't have got to do the things that I've gotten to do thus far. I wouldn't be the woman that I am today. I wouldn't be the athlete that I am today. So I'm very, very grateful, and I try to always remind myself of that every day, because I'm not owed anything. I'm not, like, I don't, everything that I've done thus far, like, I don't deserve it. I'm not owed anything. And so I just try to be grateful and give thanks every day.
Wow, that was great. And then final question from me, Tess, and we really appreciate the time today. You've been phenomenal. And I'm going to be texting Mark every day with just your name. I'm just going to, every morning, I'm going to text Mark Henry with just your name to always remind him, you know, to just speak your name to the proper people. I'll make sure that happens. But, you know, final question for me, and I'm asking this as a father. What was that year like for you when you kind of separated yourself from your family, and how important was that year for you when you were away from your family?
It was very difficult, but I think that I put it in the back of my mind. I didn't have God first in my life. I had what I had going on around me, like my friends and partying and going out at night, and those are the things that I had that was important to me. And I think that's why things started to fall apart, is because God wasn't first. I think that everything happens for a reason. I think that everyone's in your life for a reason at the right time, and that through all the relationships or the friendships that you have, you can learn something from them, and they can help you to become the person that you need to be for whatever's next in life. And so I think that's something that maybe me getting kicked out at 18 and living on my own for a year and going through those hardships and those struggles actually helped me, and I needed to go through it to become the woman that I was, or that I am, for whatever was next, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like, going through those hardships and those struggles, experiencing that, you know, being at one of my lowest of my lows, or going through personal problems in my personal life, or not having my family around, maybe mentally that's what made me tough. Maybe, and I'll never have the answers. This is just what I think. Like, maybe I needed to go through all that to realize, hey, Tessa, you do need God first. Or, hey, Tessa, you needed this because you needed that mental strength. Or something that I've gone through helped me acquire those, maybe that strength, I guess, to become the woman that I am, so that I can be well-equipped or prepared for whatever's next in life.
Wow, well said. Tessa Blanchard, you can see her next week on Pop TV on Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It's Under Pressure. She's going up against Madison Rayne, and she's a big part of what's going to take place September 1st at All In. Tessa, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you this morning.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for having me.